In today's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Senator Chuck Grassley claimed alleged potential bias in the DOJ and the FBI regarding the Hunter Biden probe. Grassley has made such claims in recent months and has said that the treatment of former President Trump versus that of President Biden's son draws questions of impartiality in the justice system. Hunter Biden has long been a Republican target, with his business dealings and personal life a frequent issue. Washington Republicans have pledged investigations into the younger Biden and how his business dealings may have potentially enriched his father if they retake the Congress.
Others, Judge Douglas has the support of both of her home state senators in an unusual development for this administration's nominees. She's actually answered the question of whether or not she believed in a living Constitution approach to judging. I want to take a few minutes to talk about Mr. Garcia's nomination to D.C. Circuit. He graduated from law school in 2011 and clerked for Judge Thomas Griffiths and Justice Kagan. He also spent a few years in private practice before joining the Justice Department earlier this year. Now, it happens that we had a Trump nominee with very similar years of experience, a person that clerked for two prominent federal judges and a Supreme Court justice. Democrats at that time weren't impressed with that sort of recommendation, but they seem to be impressed with a person that has also demonstrated no abilities to serve, quote unquote, on a circuit court. So Mr. Garcia may have trouble getting those senators' votes unless those senators have a double standard. My opposition isn't because of his experience. I have concerns about judicial philosophy, particularly approach to religious liberty. He litigated against Catholic elementary schools, arguing that federal courts have the power to intervene in employment disputes involving teachers responsible for instructing students in the faith. That seems to be interfering in religious freedom. Additionally, we can hold a voice vote on the Speak Out Act bill. I'd like to applaud Senator Blackburn for her leadership on this bill. This is a very important issue, and the bipartisan bill will ensure that victims have the ability to speak out. I will vote yes on that bill. I'd like to also discuss, as you would expect me to, the Justice Department's and FBI's continued failure to respond to our oversight request. Starting May 31st this year, I've written 3 letters regarding political bias that seems to very clearly infected the FBI. 2 of those letters provided specific and credible allegations based upon numerous whistleblowers. The allegations show a deeply rooted political infection that spread to investigative activities into former President Trump and Hunter Biden. Based on allegations, the Justice Department and FBI approved investigative activities into Trump based on in a substantial part on, can you believe it, just liberal news articles and information derived from liberal nonprofit. On the other hand, the FBI shut down investigative activities, which include verified and verifiable information related to Hunter. That activity was entirely separate from the ongoing probe by a Delaware U.S. attorney. The Justice Department and FBI have failed to address the allegations that I've raised. So take notice. DOJ and FBI haven't even disputed these allegations. In light of the FBI's failure to respond, on August 17th this year, I requested a comprehensive organizational chart with the Washington field office. The purpose of this request is to better understand how the Washington field office is staffed and who is responsible for the units and squads within the office. More importantly, it's to prepare for future congressional interviews. The FBI has failed to provide even an organizational chart. What's so secret about that? I don't know. Also on August 25th this year, Senator Johnson and I wrote to two FBI employees, Nikki Flores, who's the intelligence analyst in charge of the Washington field office, and Bradley Buenavides, who's deputy assistant director within the counterintelligence divisions. Now, these are the very same people that interviewed or briefed me and Senator Johnson August 2020. That's the emphasis briefing that was only done because of Democratic pressure to do it. And I want to tell you, 4 powerful members of the United States House and Senate urged the FBI to brief us in regard to that. And simply put, we didn't learn a doggone thing from that briefing. It was set up so things could be leaked. Certain colleagues on the other side used that briefing to falsely paint our then ongoing Biden investigation as advancing Russian disinformation. Now, you all know that that was a put-up deal because even the New York Times and the Washington Post have said now that we weren't pursuing Russian disinformation. The FBI has failed to respond to our request for information about that briefing. Therefore, Senator Johnson and I have requested that these 2 employees sit for a transcribed interview with us. Now, we've received no response. The Justice Department and the FBI continue to thumb their nose at this committee's oversight jurisdiction. So, we're not going to let up. My work to shine light on transparency in that department will continue just like it would with any department. I yield.
I'd like to make one point for the record. When President Biden took office, he had over 90 U.S. attorneys who had been appointed under the previous administration. All but 2 were replaced. The 2 included the Northern District of Illinois, where John Losh was investigating political figures of the president and my political party. Senator Duckworth and I joined in asking that John Losh continue in this work. The same is true in Delaware, where the U.S. Attorney was retained from the Trump days of administration. And I think it was an effort by the administration, a valid effort, to say that in this delicate moment where there were questions raised about certain investigations, that we would not interrupt the continued service of these 2 individuals.
I applaud the president for doing that, and I think I've said so 2 or 3 times, not only here, but in Iowa when asked about it. But there's one little thing that we're still trying to get information on. When Tebow shut down that one investigation of Hunter Biden, I want to know, does he know about that information? Or does it ever get to him? Because it seems to me it ought to be a part of this U.S. Attorney in Delaware's investigation. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Grassley. Turning to the agenda, first up is Judge Dana Douglas, who's been nominated to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 5th Circuit. Anyone seek recognition to speak on this nomination? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Leahy.
Aye by proxy.
Mrs. Feinstein.
Aye.
Mr. Whitehouse.